Today we are gonna learn about American Revolution. So far this is one of my most favorite topic because it's not only the event that paved way for the first major democratic republic in the world, but also because of American Revolution, America gained independence. The British, shifted their focus towards India. So America, mainly the Northern America, that was one of the first British colony. So let's just quickly draw a map, just a pretty rough one. Okay, I'm not, uh, drawing it accurately, just to understand the uh, slave trade actually. So this was the Northern America, and the British colonies were only existed here. This is the South America, as you know, like Brazil, Argentina, all the things, the Panama. Okay, and here somewhere is Britain. Here we got Africa, right? There's Italy, let's say, just for the rough mind map. So why? So first, one thing you need to understand that these people on America at that time, not the red Indians who were the Native Americans, but the foreign people there, they were actually British. So there were two types of people there. One was the let's say explorers, the merchants who went there to gain fortune, and other were prisoners. This colony was known as penal colony. Like for India, we had Andaman Nicobar. We used to send all those, political protesters there. So here also, when the prisons get filled, they used to transfer the people on those distant colonies. So that was the beginning. Like people are sending the Britishers mainly sending people here. They start to made their own type of administration, their own economic functional things, everything here. Then at that time, it's maybe roughly 1600s. Okay, so at the time, here somewhere, Spain, Portugal, they were also colonial power, establishing colonies all over the world. So they were also keen to get their shares here. So here will be Canada. So with this region, they had a major fight. They had 30 years war. They had 7 years war. The significant here is the 7 years war. So the 7 years war was with France, somewhere here, and Britain. Okay, so the 7 years war, which ended in 1763, Britain won. Britain won the battle. French lose. So here from this area, the French let's say settlements, they were erased, and they're only left with the British colonies and British let's say authority. But then what happened before this event? Before this particular event, as you all know that the Britishers had the power to tax the people of their colony, but here the case was something different. They used to tax these people very lightly, which was known as salutary neglect. So this was the policy from the beginning for this colony. So for these people, they are used to this particular policy for over 100 of years. So now, actually, in true sense, they don't have any connection with Britain, because the first generation who actually settled here, they died a long ago, and now they're let's say grandsons, granddaughters, they're living here, so they don't actually have any blood relation or like ancestral connection with Britain. So and they were used to this policy. So after this event, Britain uh, you know discarded their old salutary neglect policy. They enacted few acts like the Stamps Act, then Navigation Act, then comes Townshend Act, all in the subsequent years of 1763. So navigation act was like, back then there were no aircrafts, they only use ship to travel the vast Atlantic Ocean. And here's in Africa there are also. So this was the slave triangle. They're producing things, they're selling it here in return of slave. They're taking the slave here in America, they're making them work in the plantations with the sugar or the cotton, and then they're again taking this raw material to Britain, they're again producing things on the factories, and that's how the cycle goes on. This was known as slave triangle, slave trade, and that journey was known as the Middle Passage through the Atlantic Ocean. So for the American peoples, they're suddenly seeing that some foreigners are, in the British Parliament actually, they are enacting various acts. Now they are charging them money, but for them, who doesn't have any representation in the British Parliament, that was unacceptable for them. But why these people are taxing them? So they uh, made a famous slogan which was known as no taxation without representation. This was the main slogan of the American Revolution. This was given by James Otis. He was a lawyer, so he made that statement popular. So this all the event, the American Revolution, it was not due to the taxation. Taxation was not the issue. The issue was the power to tax. As Englishmen, they believe that only the elected people by them have the power to tax them, not any arbitrary foreign powers. So this became the whole issue. As we discussed in our previous video, the Enlightenment, like things that ideals like natural rights, then self-governance, popular sovereignty. These principles were also like very popular during this phase, and these things became as a acted as a catalyst in this particular movement. So they protest very naturally. There's a significant event which is known as Boston Tea Party. Here, as the British, put taxes on tea, basically, because I told you there was plantation here. So the protester, what they do, they took like millions of tons of tea and throw them on the ocean. That was like a protest. But in return, what did the British do? They did intolerable acts. So with all these arbitrary taxes, acts, and their intellectual justification to remove the British authority, make them, the colonist people, make them close to France. Why? France was already was angry to British, as they erased their all colonies from the North America. So diplomats from here, mainly you can say about Benjamin Franklin, he went to France. He asked the king to help him financially and with military. So France, what he do, I mean what France did was he sent him army. There was a famous general also, his name was Lafayette. So this guy is also an important figure in the French Revolution. So with the French help, the Americans actually fought a war against the British, and in 1773, 1773, with the siege of Yorktown. On the British side, there was Lord Cornwallis. This is the same Cornwallis who is gonna after that he's gonna be transferred to India, and he will be the Governor General here. So here on the American side, General Washington Bush, he defeated Lord Cornwallis, and that was known as Siege of Yorktown. So with that, the American Revolution ends, and they create their own constitution, maybe in 1783, I think, and that becomes the first major constitution of a world, and which is still functionable. And this was the whole event that created the modern America we know now. But this was not the end of the all of the issues. As I told you about the slave trade, that still existed, and here the southern part mainly, they were actually very much dependent on the slaves. So this issue will be solved in 1860s, like 100 years after the independence, with the American Civil War. We will look about the Civil War in the next video.